This is the Ink, Pray, Love podcast. We talk all things health, wealth, and community connection. Let's go. Welcome everybody to this episode of the Ink, Pray, Love podcast. I have a special guest for you today, my homie Brandon Schram. He is a celebrity trainer, he's a digital creator, he's an athlete, he's done some pretty dope shit. What I love about him is he's created a really strong brand and his shit's funny, like actually hilarious. The content is inspiring. It does body shame me a little bit because I want to be jacked like you, but he's consistent and he's built a brand and he's been successful in what he does, and it's something that he loves. And that's what I want you guys to get out of today is somebody can build a business out of being them and out of what they love doing. And that's the shit, because every day you work, it's pleasure. It's what you want to be doing, right?
Absolutely.
Thank you for coming today, bro.
Absolutely.
Thanks for driving down all the way here.
Appreciate you. Appreciate you making the trip from up north.
Years this is in the making. We've been homies, online internet homies for a few years now. And finally now we can make this work. So it's a historic moment for our friendship, but also awesome for the podcast. Thank you.
Divine time, bro.
Yes, sir.
It's a divine time.
How did you jump into fitness? We were talking a little bit before we started rolling about, fitness, sports, discipline. I'd like to get a little bit in your story to give context to everybody on how you became the amazing man you are today.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. That's quite the intro. But I mean, fitness requires a certain level of discipline and dedication and things like that. And I was an athlete my entire life. I used to race dirt bikes. When I was younger, I played soccer for 15 years, and it was just like always around recreational sports, but it got very serious when I was in soccer. We were, so serious to the point that the team I was on, California, we were ranked second in California, fourth in the nation.
Wow. So
it was at that level. And so, when you're playing at levels like that, you never have a day off, bro. I'm going to school, and props to my pops, bro. He was commuting to work, driving back an hour to pick me up, then driving me another hour to go to practice, and then driving me home, and then waking up at 4:00 in the morning to go to school or to go to work the next day. And so I think that also set an example for me of like, you got to do what you got to do to get what you want, bro, and to get to where you want to go. And so the soccer, I think, gave me that, athleticism and that discipline and that hunger. And that was something that I found that I needed later on in my life. I quit playing soccer. I make an excuse that the college that I went to, they ended up cutting the men's soccer program when I went there, the same year that I got there. And so for me, it was like, oh, I finally get a break. My life has been so structured around this one thing for over a decade, and so I finally have a little bit of freedom and a little bit of time to go and do the things that I want to do. And it turns into partying, bro, and drinking and drugs and getting fucked up. And like, that's the priority. It's like, cool, how fucked up are we this weekend? Like, which chicks can we have around? That's like legitimately all that you're thinking about, because that's what's important to everyone else in that area at the time, And I found myself just like, after, two of my friends had passed away, just from just dumb shit. And I find myself in this bubble of just darkness. And I'm like, this is not where I know that my life should be going, and this is not something that I want to be a part of anymore. And I just deaded everybody and separated myself. And this is like 2 to 3 years out of having any type of like athletic outlet, and I found for me, like, as a stress reliever, as something just to gain focus and just something to put my, my mind to and my body through and give myself something to do, I started hitting the gym, bro. And it took years in order to like build a brand and do what I wanted to do. But really just through that, it was trying to get away from everything I knew that I shouldn't be and I didn't want to be, and focusing on something positive in my life. And that's essentially how the gym itself started. And then it was like college, getting out of college, going through jobs. I did headhunting for law firms downtown, which is something a lot of people don't know. Yeah. But yeah, it was like a lot of different pieces and a lot of things that built me, at least with knowledge and experience to what I am now. But also, those are the things that showed me what I didn't want to be, And so it was the headhunting for law firms, cool. Like, there was massive success in it. I knew that I could be great at it, but I thought when I got out of college, I'm like, bro, I want to be like fucking Pitbull in a suit every day and fly and chop, you know what I mean? And like, and just cars and watches and this and that. And to me, that was what was important at that time because that's something I did not have.
Yeah.
Right. And I knew too, from an outsider's perspective looking in, that's what makes you, that's what, at least from everyone else's aspect, that's what makes it look like you're really doing something, you know? And it took a while. It took for me to hit like the darkest of darkest places with myself of like quitting that job and pursuing personal training as a full-time thing. And that's just like training people around my gym, random people, you know, just to get out of something I didn't want to do and try to force myself to do something that I knew that I wanted to do and try to make something out of it. But, you know, it's like hitting rock bottom, bro, like not having the money for rent, not having the money for my car. I'm driving a BMW. I got down here. I'm like, first thing I want is a BMW. So I'm working at the law firm. I'm like, sweet, BMW, first thing I get, right? I don't have enough money to pay my car. I'm like 3 years late behind it. Can't put gas in it. Can't pay my insurance. None of it, you know? And still you pull up to wherever you're going and someone else is like, he's doing it. You know what I mean? It's like, I found myself caught in this facade of like Los Angeles and just shit, you know? And
that's
it
like
was
a global
fitness
thing.
that like made it, you know?
Yeah.
It's fitness that really gave me that focus and was like, let me focus on myself. Let me get my mind right. It's like my meditation time almost. It's that time to myself to really, you know, hone in on what it is that I want, who I want to be. And I was lucky enough to be able to turn that into something.
You did a damn good job of it.
Thank you.
It's super interesting. There's a few things that stuck out for me there is like the power of saying no. There's a lot of stuff coming up that we get pulled into. And then also the facade, and social media is a big one too, of like looking successful, but then feeling like garbage. And just like everything, just not even being happy.
Yeah.
So I think there's a couple things to touch in on there is like, well, firstly, the ability to say no because you're saying yes to things you really want. How did you get that strength, especially because you said you deaded all the people around you, you cut off all these ties. And I had to do that too. It's hard. It's a lonely place at the start. You know, what was that like for you? And when did it start? When did it start feeling like the right decision, or right away did it feel like the right decision?
Right away, granted it was lonely, but I legitimately was just by myself.
Yeah.
And like I was stuck in Palmdale. There was nothing for me to do. I still had another year at that school that I had to go to before I was going to transfer out. So it's like I found myself stuck and knew like, okay, let me just focus on everything that I'm doing and let me be the best at all the shit that I'm doing right now. Because at least it takes my mind off of just like sitting by yourself and whatever you think when you're by yourself, because that's where I feel like true power within oneself actually really starts to kick in, is when you can control your thoughts when you're sitting by yourself, lonely in dark times and whatever it is, and you can still create a positive outcome for yourself. That's when true power comes into play, you know, and that's when you become powerful and most powerful. And so my bad, I forgot even the question.
No, that was a great tangent though, because I love where you took that of like true power comes from being by yourself.
Yeah.
That's fucking gold.
Yeah.
Because there's times where you just, the hardest time is when we're with ourselves. That's when our dark thoughts start creeping in and we're like, I suck, or I won't ever be successful, or because you don't get that feedback from the people around you.
Yeah.
But then when we're having a negative feedback loop from the people around us because they just want to get fucked up all weekend, it's like, okay, that's a bad place to be in.
Yeah.
So you have to cut those out and then be your own source of validation. But that's a difficult place to be in.
Absolutely.
And so I like that the fitness is a huge part of like just me regulating my emotions. Because I know if I train, I'm going to be better off all day mentally. I struggled with depression since I was a kid. Lots of concussions from kickboxing, ice hockey, car accidents, all that, where it's like, okay, mental health is an important factor. And then also where we're getting our validation. And I know there's that whole look good, feel good thing. You know, that's important. Where were you getting it though when it was like, okay, the facade of feeling good, doing good, the beamer, but not having the money for it? And then when did that started changing where you started feeling really centered in who you were? Because that's, I think, an important transition you had was fake it till you make it, but then also that's hollow to actually feeling whole and powerful. That's a journey I'd love to hear about.
Yeah, it's I mean, it comes from that, right? Being by yourself and in reading. I read a book called Many Lives, Many Masters that to me like really stuck out. I was going through my own spiritual journey. Granted, like if you could see my arms, half of it is spiritual, half of it is like old religious, because my grandma, I grew up on like Christianity and everything. So this whole side was dedicated to her, and then this whole side is my growth as a person, the things that I believe in, how I see the world, how I see myself and things like that. So this is like my spiritual side. This is like my religious side from my past. And it was me just digging into things and looking for answers or just being curious, bro. I'm like naturally a curious person. When I dive into things, I deep dive and I like research everything. And so I ended up on a book my sister sent to me, actually. It's called Many Lives, Many Masters. And it's about a doctor from Florida years ago in the 80s who was using hypnotherapy to try to cure issues that people had had. And so he didn't believe in prescribing drugs anymore because that's what everybody was doing. It's to me, it's just a guy ahead of his time because that's what we do now, right? We just try to put Band-Aids on problems and push it back into the deepest parts of your mind so that you just don't think of it, right? And hide it. But instead of trying to dig down to the root issue of something, you know? And so that opened me up to like, what are my root issues? You know, what are the things that I genuinely struggle with? And so that book itself really opened up my eyes. And he had a client who was reluctant to go to him because she didn't believe in it. And what he found was he would work through hypnotherapy and she would start speaking in different voices. And she was actually coming out and speaking from past lives. And so he would deep dive into her past lives when she is technically speaking from a different time, really, right? And finds out all of these different journeys that she's been on, all these different people she's been, and all these different, I guess, vessels that she's, you know, been inside of, and correlates all of the issues that she had from those past lives and her biggest fears from those past lives and her traumatizations from those past lives and how they affect her in her current life right now. You know, and that was like a big thing for me because they don't tell you this when you're a kid. You know, like my parents aren't telling me this. Like no one's telling me this shit. And I'm like, this makes a lot of sense to me, bro. And so it was me really just like, what are my biggest issues, bro? My biggest issues are me caring too much about what people think about me, bro. And caring too much about how everyone else sees me and like things start growing on Instagram and people being like, oh, because it looks like that, he's got to have money, you know? So then I got to make it look like I have money to make sure it's confirming everybody else's beliefs of me. When it's like, you know, it takes a while to really realize that and get into it. And it's hard around here. Like we were talking about, like, bro, Los Angeles is fake it till you make it. You know, everybody looks like a baller. Yeah. You know, like you don't know who really is in what or who owns what. You know, you like pull up to a house and it's not theirs, and it's, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's like a big facade. And it was just an acceptance. You know, you have to learn to accept your situation, who you are, and your path in life, and understand that, bro, because somebody else is there before I am, it doesn't mean that I'm behind. It's my path is different. Yeah. You know, it doesn't mean that mine won't excel past that. It doesn't mean that mine will never reach that. Yeah. The thing is, like, at least when you can accept your path, you can control your path and dictate where you want that to go. You know, where do you want the story of your life to go? And it took, like I was saying, it's like that comes with spending time by yourself. Yeah. That comes with power of mind. That comes with really sitting down and diving into like the deepest parts of your darkness, bro, and really, really seeing what are the things that I give too much attention to that are not positive things in my life. Yeah. And picking those things out and actively working on it, because shit just doesn't happen like that, bro. Like even positive self-talk, it doesn't happen like that. Yeah. But, you know, if you can catch yourself in like in a negative thought or in a negative just a negative conversation you're having within yourself, and you can catch yourself in that moment and turn it into something else and turn it into something positive.
That's a skill.
It can become habitual, bro. Yeah, and it's a real thing.
What I love about that is like there's a correlation also in, you got to accept your shadows and that whole fake it till you make it thing, but also like fitness doesn't lie in the sense of you go to the gym, you got to lift that weight, You can't fake that you lift these heavy weights.
Oh, not at all.
That's real. Yeah. And same with when I was in martial arts. It's like you can't fake you're a tough guy. When you go to the gym, you're going to find out if you're a tough guy or not.
Exactly.
You're going to get punched in the face. Yeah. You can't fake that. That hurts, you know? So like I really enjoyed the humbling aspects of that, because like Vancouver is the very same way. It's very materialistic. Everyone's a baller and I wanted to be a baller. And it's like, okay, wait, what are you really? And that's a very humbling thing, but it's also a place of power, because it's like, well, you know where to start then. You want to be fucking big guy, well, you got to start lifting little weights first. Yeah. And then you can get there through the effort. But in social media, in branding, and in this whole fake it till you make it society, things can get inflated. But I find that just sets us up for a real rude awakening, where you're like, I'm not what I was pretending to be. That hurts. But then there's the authenticity of, I am this, I have my flaws, I hurt too, I have my vulnerabilities. And that's something that should be celebrated, but it doesn't catch your eye like it does being a baller with,
Exactly.
you know?
Yeah.
So how do you play that line where it's like, you know, you've built a very successful brand and it's, when you look on it, you're like, homie's jacked and he's doing it, you know? And then to being authentic, like, you know, how do you play that? How do you play that game and balance it so well where it's good for your mental health?
Yeah, I've had my moments for sure of let me try to flex. If you go through like the history of my page, it's funny because it's like, it's damn. I have like memories that pop up, you know, like Facebook memories that pop up from like 8 years ago. I'm just like, huh. It's like, yeah, let me make sure this doesn't get shared, bro. Jesus Christ. And it's, I mean, it was the times, you know what I mean? And it was like what I thought was right at the time. And I figured I was doing what I was doing, you know, for my brand. That was right at the time. And clearly some of it worked, some of it didn't. But yeah, the authenticity aspect of it for me is most important. Yeah. You know, and it's a side of me also that I didn't show for a long time. You were mentioning even recently or before we got here, you were like, yo, the comedy shit is really where it's at. And I really like it. And for me, I've always been that dude, but it's in the beginning of it, what I saw was doing well on Instagram that you want to try to emulate is this guy's fucking cool, you know? Like, damn, that guy's cool. He wakes up in the morning, he somehow is already filming himself getting out of bed and waking up in the morning, but also like putting on a fucking nice watch, or putting fit on this and getting into a dope car, and then in the gym, and he's ripped, you know? So it's like, you want to emulate because you're like, damn, this shit does really well, you know, and I want to grow too. But to an extent, I was doing those things and some of it was working, some of it doesn't, this, that. But what I find that ends up working best for me in the long run, and also not even just for numbers purposes, right? For me as a person to go to like my own outlets and in my channels and being like, I like this. You know what I mean? Like, I actually like the shit that I'm putting out. You know, it's positive, it's relatable, it's funny, it has like really good, at least motivating aspects to it. These are all just me thinking out loud of my own shit. Everyone can have their own opinion of it, but like...
That sounds healthy though. If you're not liking what you put out because you're putting it out to sell your fucking soul, like that sounds like it'll make you cringe later. But if you really fuck with what you're putting out and you're like, that's hilarious, or like, I like it, it sounds grounded and centered from like an actual whole place.
Yeah, for sure. And it was all like I was saying, you can go through like the history of my page and it was like every single post had to be me shirtless, you know, because I'm like, oh, I'm ripped, so I got to show it. And that's what was working at the time. So I'm like, random stuff, bro. I'm like, I have a photo of me in a Ralph's holding like an avocado and I have my shirt off. And I'm just like, why do I need to be that dude? You know, like I don't have to be that dude for my shit to be popping and for people to take something positive away from my page, you know? And so it's sitting back and analyzing and really figuring out what is the value that I want to put out. You know, for me, always first thing is like, okay, where's the value in this piece of content that I'm putting out? I don't post that often, right? I used to post every day because that's what they tell you to do. Post every day because you need to if you want to grow, this and that. Yeah, consistency is good. But for me, I'm like a quality over quantity person always. And it's, what is the value that I'm giving somebody with this piece of content? And so everything that I do is super calculated. And it's super thought out, and like every single little thing about it is thought out. Every single like piece of the song and this and that is thought out. You know, like if I put something out, like I really put effort into this to make it what it is, because it's not just something that was like, oh, let me throw this together and see what happens. You know, I want people to take something from everything that I put out, and whether that does come with some type of humor, right? Whether they get entertainment or whether someone sees that and they're having a bad day and it actually made them laugh, right? Cool. Whether it's, you know, a lot of the speaking things that I do for me are my favorite things on my page, because that's my real true creative outlet and my inner voice being able to speak in a different way. So, cause a lot of it is like poetry and spoken word, you know? So how can I relay a message, right? You can say, you know, get up in the morning and do this and stay dedicated and be consistent. but like, how do I relay a message in my own creativity, in my own way, in my own voice for someone else to resonate with that, that they haven't already heard?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people out here are saying the same things,
Yeah.
you know, that's the way, like, look at music, look at everything in pop culture and like social media. A lot of the messages are the same, but how do you make that message different? How do what you are doing and what you're saying make that message resonate with somebody out there that needs that? You know, so that differentiation is where I feel like I search to thrive in.
That's beautiful.
I want to thrive in.
It really feels like it went from that fake it to make it to how am I serving? And that's something like that shifts. Like, can I provide value?
Yeah.
Do I like it? It's way more intentional and authentic than I'm a fucking baller, let me take my shirt off in a grocery store.
Yeah.
Like, it shifted that. When did that shift happen? Did you already get success and then you had the freedom to shift it? But you had to be what you'd say a little cringy now. Like, you know, now you've gotten to be more you. Did you get that freedom after being successful?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you define success though, you know? Yeah. So yeah, after a lot of growth,
yeah, that's what I mean.
in seeing, in knowing like okay, this is not really who I really am as a person. But it also came with, I did a podcast with a woman now who is my manager. And it was about just that, my journey and you know, how was I able to build this through a fitness channel, but deliver the stuff that I do deliver through it. You know, and post that, she was already managing a bunch of clients. She had her own agency, and we connected in just like a really cool, down to earth person who I think had a really great woman's perspective on what my page was delivering, at least from things maybe that I couldn't see. And it opened my eyes to a few things, because she was the first one to be like, why is your shirt off? Like, in this. Why do you have no shirt in that? You know? And I'm like, well, because it does well. You know? So, and she's like, yeah, I get it, but okay, what is the goal? You know, what is the goal with this? She's like, I think you need to think about, like, it's not just what does really well right now. What is your long-term goal with this, and who do you want to be, and what brands do you want to work with? What brands do you want to work with and create with? Because for me, I've been through the whole fitness thing and working with the protein companies and like all of this. It's when you are primarily fitness based, how far does your reach go in terms of anything else outside the niche?
Yeah.
Right? Like, what brands then are approaching you, or can you approach to do anything outside of just that niche, aside from like a protein brand or maybe a water bottle or like pre-workout, something like that, you know? And that was another thing that she was opening my eyes to. And she's like, you need to stay true to yourself, and you need to make the shit that you know that you want to make, because you're a lot more than just what that is. Yeah. And it was things that I had already known, but it was like a confirmation, right, from someone else. And like, it's interesting, like, why do we need that? You know, like, why do we have to hear that from somebody else? Why is it someone else's voice that we need in our head that we can't already tell ourselves, or that we, you know, this is something that we've already told ourselves and we know. Yeah. And these are things that I know that I need to do, but hearing it from someone else, you're like, yeah.
Yeah, it's so funny how that works. I know exactly.
Now that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, but you knew, and you knew all along.
Like, why don't we trust ourselves deeper?
Exactly.
You know? Yeah, and that comes in, and you're like, I already know the answers.
Exactly.
We don't want to listen to it. We hear it from an external perspective, and we're like, of course. We're like, you already knew that shit, right? And so it's cool, though, that to hear that from your perspective, even that, it's like, I already knew that. But then I'm like, yeah, of course, Brandon said it. I need to stay true to my brand. You know, like, it's so funny how that works. But I don't like to pigeonhole myself either. That's why I'm like, I'm a bit of an octopus. I got like tentacles and everything. And I'm like, well, I like that, because then I don't get conformed to one thing, because we're multi-dimensional beings. We're in like everything. We're in so many different facets of life. You're not just a fitness dude. And what you're putting out is in the poetry end. It is soulful. It is deep. And we got to stay deep. So we can't be in all these little shallow pools. But then also we are in these little shallow pools in the sense of our content spreading into many things. But it seems like what you did was you serve people what they want, so you can give them what they need. That old marketing principle. So you're giving them the successful fitness guy, but then they can see you can be a lot of things. You can be funny. You can be on your spiritual tip. And that's why I really fuck with you on that, is like, okay, you can be many things, but you can look like this. Like, I look like this freaking tattooed dude, which I clearly am, but then I'm also in all these other different realms. And I think that's an important thing for people to see is you can be a brand about many things. What was it like? I want to circle to when you started working with big names, because a lot of people want that. They want to be successful and working with famous people. They want their brand to be a household name, or at least just getting them into doors, you know. But how did you start getting in those doors? When did the principles, how did your principles of dedication, hard work, consistency, how did that get you into the door? And did you have to sacrifice any of those principles to get you into those doors?
No, I mean, luckily for me, man, it's been a very authentic journey, you know, and it was in the beginning of my social media. Honestly, I was just posting like workouts. It was all workouts. Some of it, a lot of it was funny, and it's in hindsight, you know, looking back with the content that I put out now. The content I put out now is very similar to the content I first used to put out, and the content you put out first is your most authentic content because you're not building for a brand. You're just putting things out because you liked what you made. You know what I mean? And I'm just gonna make these things and hopefully someone likes it. And if it sticks, cool, you know? So like the very first things that you started with is you. And then you start to see waves and moves and what works well. Then you start to, you know, groom content according to those things.
Following trends.
Exactly. And so for me, I was just posting a bunch of different workouts and different kinds of workouts. And even from then, it was from a value aspect of the gym I was going to at that time, because I was working with the headhunting agency. I was going to the gym at like a 6 p.m. in like rush hour when it's super packed. So I was filming exercises that you can do with different pieces of equipment that maybe you didn't have access to because of limited access in a gym or just limited equipment in a gym or whatever it is, you know? So here's something you can do with this dumbbell that will mimic this that you can do with that, right? And here are trade-offs and here are just variations and different types of things that you can do. And so that was already like the value aspect that I was trying to build and give out to people. And from that, it started to grow a little bit. I think I was at like 20,000, if that. And at that time, I got a DM from Jennifer Lopez's boyfriend. And
which one? Which time was this?
It was Casper. So it was
She's
a
been
while
through.
ago.
She's been through a lot.
Yeah, she's been through a lot of boyfriends.
God bless her. Shout out to J-Lo.
But at that time, it was Casper, and he was like, "Yo, I think we have similar builds. I really like the work that you do. I need some help with a movie shoot coming up. Can you work with me?" And I was like, "Cool." And he was like, "Can we meet tonight?" And I was like, "Cool." You know, and it's funny because it was a verified account. And I saw it, and I didn't know who it was right away because I've never really been one to really pay attention to a lot of pop culture type stuff or things going on. But I didn't really know who he was, so I Googled it, and I was like, oh, shit, he's J-Lo's boyfriend. So I went to go meet him. We worked out that night, and he had told me that he has a movie that he had shot 6 months ago that they need to reshoot a last scene in 6 days. And he was like, and it's a fight scene. I have my shirt off. He was like, I haven't been working out, haven't been doing anything. So what is the most rip that I can get?
You had 6 days to get jacked.
I was like, damn, bro. So we went through like legitimately not like a show prep or with like an actual water cut and like a sodium cut and all these different things. And he looked great, bro. After 6 days, it was cool. It was like a cage fight versus Uriah Hall, like actual UFC fighter.
Oh shit!
So it was
cool.
He's
great.
And so I worked out with him. That was on a Sunday. And on Monday, I was at Jen's house training Jen.
Crazy.
And so for me to go from nothing, no one, I didn't know any celebrities at the time. Yeah. And like, granted, I'm from here, grew up in Palmdale, but I moved back down to Sherman Oaks. And I had not had a client of any type of celebrity status. And I went from 0 to 1,000, bro. Like,
what was training Jennifer Lopez like?
It was dope, bro. She's like Jenny from the block.
No doubt.
Legit. Comes in, bro, puts down a boombox, DMX comes on, you're just like, oh. I was like, it's like this. And she's super cool, down to earth, one of the most like dedicated, hardworking people I've ever seen in my life. Legitimately walks in from a meeting, puts it down, boom, we bang out 1 hour, if we have that much time. Straight out to a meeting.
Wow.
Legitimately. Like her life is on a clock, bro. And it's like to see that level of work and dedication, I'm like, okay, this is why she is where she is. Mm-hmm. And I know that for sure. Because this woman works, bro. And then so from that, That was great. I got her ready for her Vegas residency. And then through her, I met Prince Royce. And that was another one I didn't know who he was. And funny, the first time I worked out with him, he was at the SLS in Beverly Hills, and he's a Spanish artist.
Yeah.
You know, and so I didn't know too much about him. I Googled him too, and it was her people that were like, hey, we got this guy, he wants a trainer, this and that. And then Casper was actually doing his creative directing. So it was like a cool little circle that we built. And I went to go meet him, we worked out, and he's a very like, keep to himself person at first. He's a very normal guy, which to this day, we're very close friends, best friends. And that's like one of the biggest things that I respect about him. He's a super humble, very normal person, you know? And so we worked out maybe like 2 or 3 days, and he was like, yo, I have a tour coming up, and I want you to come on tour with me because I have like a whole segment where I'm gonna have my shirt off. And he was like, it's with Ariana Grande.
Dope.
And I was like, I'm in, you know? So think about like the path, and this is all within a span of like 4 months, you know, of like nothing. This is like just training people in my gym that I've met around and things like that, to like, boom, then J-Lo, and then now Prince Royce, and now talking about this summer we're gonna tour with Ariana Grande on a 53 city tour around the country. And it was amazing, bro. And I toured the whole country with him. Like one of the dopest, like, just periods of my life in general, just to see that and see the behind the scenes of all this. And also touring with like, Royce is a massive star, but also touring with Ariana Grande, and to see like the behind the scenes of all that too was crazy. And it was then me posting things with these people, and then now it's to everybody like, oh, now you made it, you know, all the people from Palmdale, oh, you made it, I can't believe it, this and that. All the people that never talked to me before that were like, oh shit, yo, what's good? Yeah, and so it was, you know, I'm grateful for that. And that was something that, you know, that was a marketing tool and tactic that you should do, you know, and it's not using these people's faces for anything. It's like, this is genuinely now a circle that I'm in. And these are people that I'm grateful enough to be able to call friends, and they want to be open about working with me too, you know, so perfect. Why wouldn't I show that, you know? And so to the extent, right, without looking like a cornball, but maybe I did, I don't know, but
it's okay to flex that.
I'll leave that up to the audience. Yeah, and it was just like working with them also, it creates a lot of different characteristics for you, because how do you then speak to someone of that status, right? How does a very regular person like me, you know, walk up and be able to have a conversation with someone of that status? But being around these people and talking to these people and seeing the things that you can and should talk about around people, you know, it's like, okay, it gave me that type of experience to be comfortable enough to have conversations and walk up to other people of celebrity statuses. And that in itself is an art, bro. Like, because these people don't trust anybody, right? Why do they need new friends? Why do they need to talk to you? What are you gonna try to sell them on? You know, because that's what they're always used to. And so with that, I went bowling one night, and I didn't want to go. I was in West Hollywood. I got a call from my friend that was in Woodland Hills, and it's in Los Angeles terms, this is far, bro. You don't do it, you know? And so he was like, come on, just come. And I ended up going, and I got there, and Game had the middle 2 lanes occupied, and it was packed. It was full. You couldn't get a lane. You couldn't get anything. And I ended up cutting all the kids in the line, and I got a pair of shoes. And I was like, nah, fuck this. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna find like some way to work my way in this, right?
Yeah.
And there was a girl sitting at the lane that I had met one time in my building in the elevator. The one time, right? And like, just like small talk. Hey, what's up? Hey, cool. Nice to meet you. Great. You know, and she was sitting at that table, and I was like, no way. So I was like, small world.
Hey,
right?
what's up?
Yeah, this is crazy. And the guy that she was dating at the time was good friends with Jay Game, and she was like, oh, I'll introduce you. I was like, cool. And I was wearing a tank top. It was midsummer, you know, so I was wearing a tank top, and he came over and was like, damn, bro, like what's going on? What, like how many days a week do you work out, and this and that? And he was like really on his fitness shit too. He has like really dedicated waves that he goes through of like album mode, fitness mode, this mode, that mode, you know. And that was another thing. That was a Saturday. that I met him and we texted on Sunday and I was training him on Monday.
Amazing.
You know, and so that's all I was saying. Like I guess we're not looking at all of the shit that I had to do to get to that point. You know, like a story that I've told before, like, bro, I've been to every Whole Foods and running canyons and this and that and putting up posters of, you know, little tear offs of here's my phone number and here's this, and it's a photo of me ripped and this and that. I'm like, oh, people are definitely going to call me, bro. 0 calls.
Yeah.
Nothing. No leads. No nothing. You know, and it's like, that one is like an ego buster, bro. Ego bruiser for sure. 2, I know that what I have is valuable. I'm pitching it the wrong way, right? My marketing tactic is wrong. Maybe I don't need to just be this ripped dude on this poster because, like, maybe that's not the client that I'm trying to get anyway. You know, so like let me reevaluate exactly what I'm trying to do here and who I'm trying to be and what I'm trying to put out and who I'm trying to get, because like clearly that's not the right way. You know, and all of it came from social media, bro. The double-edged sword of like, it's the greatest and worst thing in the world, you know, in terms of like, it really can make your life and break your life.
I was literally like, I'm happy you circled back to the ego thing that was coming up for me. It was like, wow, that would be such a meteoric rise. What did that do to your ego? How did you check in with your relationship to your ego? Like, what are your thoughts on ego throughout all this?
Me at that time, I took a lot of time to really figure out who I was, you know, and so I've never been really like drowning in my own ego, you know, because I have inspirations and things that I know that I want to be. So for me, it's not ever feeling like maybe I'm not enough in a situation. It's just like, I know I'm not where I want to be at. I know that I still have work, right? Regardless of where I'm at or if I'm in other people's eyes above other people in the industry or this or that, that's everyone else's opinion to figure out. But for me, this is not where I want to be at, you know? So I have work. So how can I have an ego in the position that I'm in if I know that I'm not where I need to be at? I know that there's still probably other things that I should be doing to get me to where I want to go, but maybe I'm lacking on that, you know? So it's like ego I think is a subjective thought to a lot of people, and it really can damage a lot of people in a way depending on how you define it, right?
Totally.
And so for me, I can't have an ego because I'm not where I want to be. You know, and that's not in a place of knocking myself that are like, oh fuck, I'm not where I want to be yet, you know, I'm like here kicking dirt and shit. Yeah. But like, no, I just know that like, bro, I have bigger goals and bigger dreams, and there's things that I want to do, and there's like people that I want to help, and there's just like there's messages that I know that I want to get out, you know, and I know these are a lot of things that I haven't done yet. And so it's, I don't know. I feel like I've been able to manage that side of it really well. And I've always been humble, bro. Like, I'm just a kid from Palmdale anyway, you know, like I was like boosted into a network and a life and like a circle of people that a lot of people do have egos. A lot of people don't. And, you know, it's those people that like, that help humble you and ground you. And like Royce, bro, Royce is like, to me, a dude with like 0 ego. Like, he legitimately is one of the most humble dudes, and this is a guy that has everything and like could be sitting and flexing every day and could be doing this and could be doing that, but like the dude is just like, bro, I want to fucking play Pokemon and I want to do this, and like, you know what I mean? Like, he's very himself, and like for me it was like such a great lesson to observe and be around something like that, of like, this is somebody that everybody would think is like, maybe he is egotistical or narcissistic or a dickhead, but like the complete opposite, because he knows who he is and he knows what he likes and he doesn't give a fuck, bro. You know, and it's like, he was a great teacher for me without knowing that he was teaching me all these things, because I'm an observer. You know, and I was like, that's what I want to be. That's how I want to be. And so these are things that I try to work into my life and try to emulate and try to, you know, continue to respect.
That's huge. And that's a big part of why I wanted to have this podcast, was to get an insight of how people operate that are at places that I find inspiring. I just want to bring people on that I fuck with, that I'm like, I like what you do. How do you do it? And I really appreciate that. That's how I like to learn a lot of. And I think that's really important for people. It's like, well, look at people without a jealousy, without a want, but just like, how did you do it? And soak it in. And that's why that's why I wanted to move to the West now. When I was talking to you before we started today, was like, well, I just want to be around people that are doing it on this level, and just to see how they operate, because that's very interesting for me. You know, it's like the relationship with my ego is a funny one, where it's like there's times where I'm like, yeah, I have lots to do still, so I don't get pumped on a lot of what I've done, but also I need to look back and be like, you've done pretty good.
You gotta be proud of it too.
You gotta be proud of yourself.
Yeah,
you have to stop
you
and
need a
celebrate.
balance of those things.
Yeah, if you don't celebrate your wins, you can just get lost in the goals and then not actually enjoy what you're doing.
Anything that you ever did. Yeah.
Anything, yeah. And what I like about what you do though is that like you're doing what you love. Like fitness is, we just do that anyways. And it sharpens us. It keeps us disciplined, you know. And that's an interesting path for me, is the discipline factor. I like when you're saying with the game is like, yeah, because there's times where you're like, I'm in this mode. I work good in sprints.
Yeah.
But if I don't have a goal, then I'll fuck around. And just like when you're in college, you know, it's like you finished the heavy training for soccer. Then it's like, well, let's get fucked up.
Yeah. Now what?
Now
exactly.
Men like us, especially that are driven, need the drive. We need a destination.
Yeah.
And so I'm always looking for new goals, because if I have idle hands, I get into trouble. And I'm like,
Absolutely.
I need some shit to do. Right.
Absolutely.
What's your goals right now? What do you got going on that you're like, I'm in it for this?
I've always created my own content, you know, so all the filming I do myself, or with the help of like very few people. All the editing I've always done myself. So for me, it's, I've been diving deep into just like the cinematography aspect of things. You know, how do I really storytell with the camera? You know, I think I've done a good job being able to create content and get messages across and get feelings and emotions across and stuff. But now, how do I create something bigger and deeper than that? You know, and it's just starts with smaller projects and stuff. So like that. I'm working with a really great supplement manufacturer. I mentioned to you before, Simpson Labs, in their, one of two of the best in the country for sure, continuously growing. And the dude there is just incredible, bro. He's from East Palmdale, like I am, grew up. We both just like know the ropes of like what it is in that place that we came from, and what it means to make something of yourself outside of that, you know. And it's crazy because it happened organically, of me starting my brand, and they were our manufacturer, and then continuously talking to them and this and that, and me realizing that, you know, there are parts of your brand that look like they need some work, and I think I can help, you know, if you guys are open to it. And I think this can be a synergistic relationship, and it's become that. And through that too, it's like, I was telling you, as the CEO of a company worth easy 200 mil in less than a decade.
Wow.
And growing massively, you know. And so to watch a guy like him operate at the level that he operates, but also give back in the ways that he does, like he could buy mansions and cars and shit like that. And like up until, just recently, the dude was driving like a 10-year-old Subaru, legitimately.
Wow.
His way of giving back, instead of spending money on himself and stuff, he takes, you know, all the people from his company, bro, buys out boxes to Dodgers games and Lakers games, and like just gives people access to things that they would never have that access to. You know what I mean? Because of it's a monetary barrier, you know. And so like to me, that's a beautiful thing when you have the means like that, right? Like monetary, it's not a lot, it's not everything, but at the end of the day, when you can give someone that access to be able to like watch their kid, who's like a fucking huge Dodger fan, sit in a box and be able to watch like their favorite Mookie Betts at bat, you know, it's like, that's a beautiful sight, bro, you know. And so even that, like, really being around these people, just like it motivates me to do more things like that, and bring out like the best aspects within myself as well. you know, and it also makes me want to do the best that I can with the company. I'm doing the entire digital side of the company now, you know, and it's like working with someone like that, you want to do great.
Definitely.
You know, and it's like, that's like such a big lesson for like all the CEOs out there, all the bosses, all the managers, whatever it is, you know, like when you have people that work for you that genuinely love you like that, and they look at you like, this guy's a fucking amazing person, bro, they want to do great for you, you know, and like it's not like a rocket science fucking theory, you know, like for people in like very corporate jobs. Like when you really treat people the way that they deserve to be treated, and you really, you know, give people like, give back in the ways that you should, instead of just giving it all to yourself, bro, and sharing the shit, you know, and sharing the growth and sharing wealth like that. It's like, it creates a much bigger, better aspect for you. And so I take a lot of those things and, you know, try to implement things on my life like that. But it's, just building out the digital side of that. And with that too comes like, me trying to create, I'm trying to create a movie, bro. You know, I'm trying to make movies now. I'm trying to make like documentaries and things like that, and be able to really just like express all of my thoughts and emotions and creativity in video form, and try to do it as beautiful as possible.
It's such a dope transition that you went from like fitness, legal headhunter into digital content creator, into big businesses now. That's beautiful to see that shift and growth in that. How are you creating, what's going viral for you? Is it the same process from before? You're providing value. What has shifted in your content creation game now to play on this scale, now to be working with corporate, like a big business?
Yeah, so luckily too, I created Motivated Fit. That's probably how you and I even saw each other. It was that I created a few different fitness ads, and one of them went crazy in 2019. It actually ended up becoming the most watched fitness ad in the world that year.
No way.
Yeah, it was massive. And so me and my partner at that time, we were like, we're pretty good at this. You know, like maybe this is something that we should start looking into. So for me too, aside from like just building out the digital aspect, I think in terms of like, okay, what actually sells too, right? What actually works in terms of like hooking somebody? What is the psychology behind somebody watching a piece of content and like getting stuck on it, or what is entertaining to somebody, or what pulls at heartstrings, or like there's a lot of different things, and these are all very valuable things that you can give people, right? And so recently, I guess people think I'm funny.
I love the funny shit. It's dope. Those are great. Like that's a really great angle, especially when somebody is like, I always say in marketing is like, be two polar opposites. Like be the jacked handsome guy, but be hilarious.
Yeah.
Like that's a good one, you know? And I'm like, okay, I'm a guy with his fucking head tattooed, but I want to talk about spirituality, and I want to talk about God and personal development and giving and caring.
Yeah.
Like those two are polar opposites. So people are like, okay, what the fuck? And so it gets you in the door.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that for people with branding. And so any other tips you got for people listening that are like, hey, I'm building a brand. How do I get to a place where I'm a successful brand on my own? How do I get myself in the door with some of these big name people? Like what does it take to get in the room with J-Lo? What does it take? It's obviously a lot of failure and going up and putting the phone number thing. You know, like there's some embarrassing shit that we got to do. I mean, not embarrassing, grinding, but there's shit that we got to do that flops. But what does it take to then be a brand in yourself and get in the door and make money from that? What are some of the things that you'd let people know that are just starting out that way?
Yeah, one, it is the authenticity aspect, you know, and like I had said, you know, a lot of the humor stuff right now is really working for me. And that's what I was doing in the beginning, you know, so it's like recircling back to my own authenticity and my own truth of who I am as a person. And like, I'm not always serious, bro. Like if we have normal conversations, like I'm probably the one joking more than anybody else. So it's like, that's giving a piece of me that maybe not everybody was able to see a lot, but, you know, staying authentic, yes, value. What is it that you offer, you know? What is it that you can give out to make somebody better in multiple different ways? Like how can you make somebody like smile or laugh, right? Because humor is a universal language. That's one thing that it doesn't matter where anybody is from or what language they speak. If you can do something funny, everyone laughs, you know? So humor is a universal language. So that's a really great aspect and a really great angle. if you can authentically do that and be yourself in whatever it is that you're marketing, you know, because if we're talking about marketing, I mean, marketing a brand and a product is very different than marketing yourself. You know, so marketing yourself is that education. You know, how can you educate somebody with the piece of content? What do they take away from you when they come? Did they learn something when they came from the last thing that you posted? Because that's another great tool to give to a lot of people. It's like Instagram has a lot of very pretty things to look at, you know, and it's like all very polished and very well done and all, you know, it's a very visual site. But at the same time, you can learn a lot on Instagram, and like that's what TikTok is now. TikTok is like almost the learning app for a lot of people. It's the short form YouTube, you know, and they've made a really good job of making it so easily accessible to find what you're looking for. So it's just like YouTube. You can go on YouTube and just search like, I want to learn how to bake a cake. You know, you can do that on TikTok and it will pop out thousands of videos of people baking cakes with recipes and stuff like that. So whatever algorithm they use to find content in their like search engine, they've done a really good job of. And so, you know, it's one, I think you can play all different channels. Two is, like I said, the authenticity. Three is just delivering whatever value it is that is authentic to you, whether that be, you know, humor, education, or even just some type of like spiritual motivation or whatever, you know. If that's you and that's something that you feel and that's something you want to get out and that's something that works for you, say it, talk about it, do it, you know. If it's food, you want a healthy recipe, or you want whatever, something to help make someone's life better or easier, works, you know. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's not being afraid to be who you are and not being afraid to put that out, because that's where a lot of people get lost. Is like your greatest achievements are on the other side of the shit that you're too scared to put out, because you think that somebody else might think that's corny, or you think someone else is going to judge you for that. You know what I mean? But that's your truth. And so you were too scared of what an opinion of a stranger is going to be on that piece of content to put it out, when that's a thing that's going to get you to where you want to go. For sure.
Fuck. That's the one. That's the one. I love that. That's it. That's it. Mic drop right there. So many people are lost in what will people think.
Everybody is, bro. Right. To an extent, you know. It's like as much as like, even as much as I want to say it, like, cool, but like I put something out that I really love and it completely flops. It's not like I'm like, okay, whatever, that one flopped. But at the same time, just like, you know, you're a tiny bit hurt.
Oh, for sure. I'm like, I thought that was slap.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that shit.
You are like a tiny bit hurt, and you question like, okay, what was it? What is it? You know? So just blame it on the algorithm. Fuck it.
Yeah. Algorithm's fucking me right now. I think I talked a little too much shit about our prime minister in Canada or something, and I'm just getting buried in the algorithm. I'm getting fucked right now. I can't. The algorithm's got me good right now, and I'm like, okay, don't worry, just diversify. Go into other platforms, do other stuff, like you'll figure it out. But there's a part of me that's like, yo, but no one's liking my stuff like they used to. And that sucks. But then you're just like, live your fucking life. Actually just live your life. Like continue pumping out good shit. All you can do is stay consistent.
Yeah, bro, trust. Everyone has waves. Yeah. I've had waves of like astronomical waves, bro, where I'm like, damn, this shit is going crazy, you know? And then it's like, legitimately, it may be 1/10 of the engagement that I was getting before. Yeah. And then it's, you know, you start, what is it about me and myself and this and that? And the thing is like, bro, just keep putting it out, you know, all of the things that you like and you love and the person that you want to be, keep putting that out. And the thing is like, to the people it matters most to, they'll still fuck with it. You know, for the people that you want to get a message across to, they'll still fuck with it. And at the end of the day, you have to realize and understand that, like, if you are helping this one person or this handful of people, you know what I mean? These are people that still come to you and look for an inspiration or an answer or comfort or whatever it is, you know? And I think we get lost in that and in I want more and I want to be bigger and I want to grow and I want this, without realizing, like, you got people right here that like fuck with you wholly and fully. You know, you got people right here that support every single thing that you do. You know, you drop something, these are the 5 people that are always going to buy from you, you know, 5, 1, whatever it is, you know, but like you have somebody that you are so important to that you have no idea who they are, and they will they will purchase your product and they will be your fan and they will rock with you, whatever you put out. Even when that post that flopped, they liked it, you know? And it's like, I think we get lost in the numbers of always wanting to be here, you know, without really realizing and taking a step back and being grateful for like, bro, I have people that legitimately like ride with you, you know? And these are strangers, bro, that you've never ever met or spoken to personally or anything, that like you are that important to that person. And so that should be important enough to you to continue to do what you're doing and continue to, you know, help motivate you to just give and keep delivering like those things of value.
Wow. I love that. It just reminds me like the world needs you in that space. There's somebody that needs you out there. There's a lot of people that are like, my content's not getting traction.
Yeah.
You know, no one's fucking with it. Will people like it? But we need to remember ourselves, the world needs you. I just painted this huge mural at the new shop, right, in the back. And I was thinking of like, what do we put in this big ugly wall? Like it's in the parking lot. It's a fucking hideous wall. And I'm like, we can mural it out with something cool. And I was just thinking that like people walk by and I was like, you know what? Because it's in our hood, East Vancouver. And I was like, East Van needs you. And it just, as soon as I heard it, I'm like, you know, it just felt good for me that like you're needed. What you have to put out, random person walking your dog, what you're doing, person collecting the bottles in the alley, or like whatever, East Van needs you. Like we need you. So when you read that, you're like, okay, what I do matters. Like it actually does matter. Then you put a bit more intention into what you're doing. You pick up the bottles with some honor, or you like, you know, you walk your dog and you pick up the dog shit. East Van needs you to not leave your dog shit everywhere, but like it's important, right? Yeah. And I just think that really made me happy because, you know, when I first got back to Van City, and I wasn't going to stay too long, you know, I was just going to go back to my cushy Bali life, like what we were talking about before, you know, before we started filming. And I was like, you know, I could just go chill in Bali, but then one of my homies, a close friend of mine, said, "Don't go back, you know, stay here." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, bro. Like I know, I miss you too, man." And he's like, "No, like we need you. The hood needs you. Like Vancouver needs you." And I'm like, "Oh." And I was like, "Yeah, I guess just because I'm bringing a different perspective in. Like I've been out in, you know, Bali this long working on myself. Like people here have in certain ways, they just need that perspective. They need that like."
Just walked in glowing and shit.
Yeah.
Like, that's who came back stand out.
I was floating. You know, and I was just like, well, because I just like now I'm like in my hood, no one was really about like love and light, you know, as cliche as it is, but like they didn't go on that spiritual tip. They just stayed grinding, you know, and just wanting to have the nice shit, have the Beamer, right? And it was like I came back and I was like, let's be nicer to each other. Like that matters first, you know, that feels good. And he's like, we need to hear that. And I was like, yeah, actually, my unique perspective matters. If it's something that's aligned to help people, it matters. So I think a lot of people that are building their brands or, you know, wanting to put out work, it matters. Like what you have to say, it matters. People need you. If it's something that's not some ignorant bullshit, it's like fucking hating on people. Yeah, nobody needs that.
Yeah,
fucking keep that on the low. But like if you're helping people, you know, we need you. The world needs you. And I think that's something that's like a beautiful reminder for people that are like, what will people think? Nah, flip it. How can you serve? Yeah, that always makes me happy.
Exactly. And it's like for anything else in life, when you can control the narrative, your shit is limitless, bro. You can take it wherever you want to go. You can do whatever you want to do. It's like I said, like you're writing the story, you're carving your own path. When you control that narrative, who else can tell you what to do, when to do, and how to do your shit, you know? Nobody, because you control that. You control that thought and that mind, the positivity, you know, and the power. And like having that narrative and control of your narrative is your greatest power. Absolutely. That's your greatest power.
I love that. I had a burning question. It was like around like, yo, what did homie do when he had 6 days to look jacked? What the fuck did he do?
Oh, we did, bro. We did the workout, drove straight to the grocery store. I bought him all the groceries. And I was like, these are exactly what you're going to eat at what times of day and what it's going to be. And so it's legitimately like show prep for people that do like bodybuilding shows and shit. Because I just did around that time I was super ripped because I just did like an NPC like physique show. And not even for like whatever, an accolade or whatever, but like I just wanted to do it because I'm like, why not? You know, let me see if I can push myself to get to like this level of shape, you know? And it's, and I got second because I was late, of course. Fucking stupid. But,
but you got second because you were late to the show?
I was late. So I walked in. It was like, there was a lot of different things. I was at the show. Everything was good. I left. There was supposed to be a 20-minute intermission that they skipped, right? Because the women were showing first and the men were showing. So the way the shows work is there's a prejudge and then a judging, right? Prejudging is in the morning. Prejudging is really the show. There's no audience, there's no nothing, it's just judges. And because with an audience, there's hype and there's a little bit of like, there's bias in a crowd and that could possibly sway a decision one way or another. Granted, they do the final judge then, but in the morning is like the main judging. So they'll pick your top 5 and then they pretty much know who's going to be like 1, 2, 3. And then maybe at the night show, maybe someone comes back looking a little bit better or something. Who knows? Whatever. And so when I had left, there's like a bunch of different like techniques that you can do. So I walked to CVS across the street legitimately. I was like, oh, we still got like 20 minutes because there's going to be a break. So I'm going to go to CVS. And I bought like little bottles of wine because the alcohol dries you out, but the sugar aspect in the wine actually makes you more vascular, right? So it helps pump your oxygen a little bit more.
How come this doesn't work for me when I get lit, bro?
This is only like, that's why in Vegas you're like, damn, all these motherfuckers are ripped, bro. Because like they're so dehydrated and it's all sugar and they're just like...
Sounds really unhealthy.
Yeah, super unhealthy, but everyone it's like, damn, I look great. but exactly, that's like a metaphor for what fucking the facade of fake it till you make it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I went and I got sweet tarts because of the simple sugars in it. Simple sugars help with just blood flow and like a pump. And when I walked in, my class was already walking onto the stage.
Oh shit.
So I ran back there.
Sweet tarts in your hand.
Bro, I ran back there and the guy was like, you're late. You know, you can't go. And I'm like, bro, I did not train all this time.
Yeah.
You know, like clearly I put in the work because I know of at least my class and the people that I've seen, like, there's no way that I'm not going to get judged, bro. Like, I know that I came in here ready, you know? And so there was, like, mistakes that had happened. Some guys walked off stage a little bit early. And then there was a guy that he was born an amputee. He was missing a leg that was in that class. And he didn't make it on stage in time. And they didn't let him walk on the stage. And so they were like, bro, we can't let this happen because of, you know, a physical disability. You know, maybe somebody didn't let him know when they were supposed to. And so I got lucky and I went to go talk to the main judge and he was like, we might be able to do something, we might not. And he rejudged the class that night. So I was able to go on stage. Cool. And so I ended up winning that class. And then they put me in the overall and I got second. And when I was walking out, he stopped me and was like, you got lucky that happened first off in the morning. And he was like, second, I probably would have given you a win if that didn't happen. You know, he's like, but at the end of the day, top 2 get a national qualification if you want to go that route, you know? And I knew that wasn't a route that I wanted to go. It was kind of just like, here's a, you know, I mean, it's not even a bucket list. It's just like, here's a checklist thing that I wanted to do, you know, and I ended up doing it. But anyway, so all of the prep that I put into that in like your last week, your peak week, is what we did with him. Is like you load water, then completely cut water, and legitimately like you drink like 8 ounces of water in like your last 2 days.
Oh wow.
So you're dry, bro, nothing. And like I'm eating like spoons of legitimately raw oats with no water, bro, to absorb any moisture that's left in your body. Okay. So when you're there, you feel like shit. Yeah. You know, you look ripped as fuck, but you feel like ass, bro. And so that's what he was in that final scene, but he looked great, bro. It's we did what we had to do and he looked good, but afterwards he was like, bro, we need to eat anything. Like, this is just ridiculous.
It just sounds like we circled totally back to the fake it till you make it thing where you're like, I look fucking amazing, but I might die.
Exactly. Like I feel like shit, you know, and that's what that is. It's crazy. It takes a huge toll to go that route. You know, and do that. It's fighters, you know, fighters do the same thing.
Same thing. Then you got to go perform and almost like fucking try to knock somebody out. And you're like, I might die. That's crazy, bro. What does it feel like for you now, you know, just to like sustainable health, sustainable business? Like you're seeing, we were talking, I really am inspired by like the J-Lo work ethic because J-Lo was my first crush. Oh my God, man. That was
everybody's.
I'm real. Oh my God. That was like at that era.
So, still my crush.
Yeah, right. J-Lo forever. Shout out to J-Lo. She's my forever crush. But like the work ethic of people that are at that level, you know, there's levels to this and you're seeing like people like, wow, shit, the game, man, he crushed it at that level. You see J-Lo, all like Hall of Famer of our generation of just like what it takes to be a success. Holy boss mama. And so it's just like, man, to be around those people that work at that level and then, you know, you're still growing, and now you're going from where you've gone to now you're consulting for working with these major companies worth hundreds of millions. What is it going to look like for you, your day-to-day, your mindset to continue growing at this level? And how are you evolving to just success in your mind? And what are your habits looking like? What are you going to pass on to people in this podcast of how to maintain success, how to keep growing?
It's structure, 100%. So like when you start to get into the realm of doing things for yourself and by yourself, if you don't have structure and you don't have schedules that you build yourself, the thing is like, bro, time is the biggest misconception. When you think that you have time is when you have the least amount of time, because you end up doing the least, right? So there's sciences I've read of like a lot of things, bro. Traffic in general, right? When you add a lane to a freeway, it creates more traffic because everybody does this shit, you know? So with your mind, when you have time, it's that expansion that you think like, I can get this done in an hour, you know? I don't got to do it right now. I can go do this and then I can get this done. Like the things that I need to do versus the things that I want to do, right? Let me do the things that I want to do because I'm kind of avoiding the things that I need to do, you know? And that's just procrastination in general, right? And I like, bro, put the pro in procrastination. That was me for sure. Like I was the worst. And like, I'm not the best at it for sure by any means, but like I definitely was way worse. But it's building structure for yourself, doing, you know, creating healthy habits for yourself. And that comes with just any type of physical exercise, bro. You don't need to be out there killing yourself every day. You don't need to be like, you don't need to work out. Like, you don't need to watch one of my videos and be like, I need to do that. You know, like this is me like letting out whatever I need to let out and like just pushing my limits, right? You don't need to do that, but you need to move your body in one way or another, you know, because that releases a lot of things and a lot of chemicals and a lot of just like, beyond chemicals, it's emotion and hormones in your body that you need to continue to operate at higher levels. And the mindset aspect of it, you need to like focus on whatever it is that continues to give you that focus and that growth. And for me, it's like I have alone times legitimately, and you can call it meditations. I'm not as good on my meditations as I would like to be, but still knowing that you have like some type of aspect that gives me like a focus time, right? Whether that's like me just walking on a treadmill and not doing anything else and like legitimately in my own silence just to think. Like even like, bro, Los Angeles, where you have so much traffic time, like what do you do in that time to optimize? And then that's the next thing is like, how do you continue to optimize, you know? And you need to find the balance of living and also working. And it doesn't necessarily always need to be about like this, you know? It's like you see so many people that are selling like whatever courses they're selling and they're CEOs and they do this and that and they were 10Xing this, and it's like, you got to wake up at 4 a.m. and you got to take a cold shower and you got to be doing this, and then you need to read about real estate, then you got to do that, you know what I mean? You don't need to do any of that shit, bro. Like you need to do what is working for you, and everybody's different. You know, you need to find out what it is that works for you and helps you optimize at higher levels. And that comes with trying, right? So you don't need to do that stuff. I would try a lot of these things. I've tried everything, bro. So you can try all these things and something might stick and something might open up something in your brain where you're like, fuck, that shit worked. I feel better about myself today. Or like, I actually have more energy today than I did before. So like that, bro, the eating aspect of it is massive. Like your gut is your brain. Your brain doesn't function without the nutrients that come from your gut, right? If you don't have food, you don't have the nutrients, you know, you have lower oxygen levels, and like oxygen to your brain, like we don't realize that, like, bro, death in itself is, if you look at the definition of what death is, it's a lack of oxygen to the brain, right? And that oxygen comes from everything else in your body and through your bloodstream, right? So the healthier you can keep that and the more you can deliver it to it, the higher level of optimization your brain can just work under, you know? And it's finding those things that work for you, because not everything works for everybody, and continuing to also step outside of your comfort zone, because those things are like, that's where you grow, that's where you find out about yourself. Like I highly recommend always just like just doing some shit you wouldn't normally do. You know what I mean? Put yourself in like a little bit of a stressful environment. I know people that just have a difficult time just talking to people, you know, so they avoid conversations. But like when you have to have a conversation, what do? You freak out, you know, you like, I feel like I'm not thrive, but I dive into the shit that I know that I need to work on in order to get better at. And I think that's another very important piece to it. So, yeah, bro, I'll go on all day. You know, it's like,
I love it though. No, but that feels like
top 100 things.
it was like the textbook of a successful life. So I appreciate that very much. And I appreciate you coming down, bro. Really.
Yeah,
the
man.
drive all the way down here.
Been a long time, bro.
A long time coming. Hope there's more to come. Hopefully we can get a training session next time I come in.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll be pulling your Jaguar or whatever you're driving now these days like you were. I'll train for that after recovering from my accident. That's a good goal, actually. So maybe next time I'll be pulling your car. We'll be running it together. But man, thank you so much. Is there anything that you'd like to, please follow Brandon, everybody, if you're not already. Is there anything that they can come and connect with you on? Is there anything that you'd like to, an offer that you have or anything? Is there any courses or anything you got out, or just come and support you?
No, yeah, I'm not on here to sell anything. I'm not on here to, you know, try to gain anything really. I just want to give. So
Champion.
If I can give you guys, you know, if I can give out some positive thought, if I can give out just the knowledge that I have, you know, that's what this world is about, is learning, you know, educating, and then re-giving that, and understand that, like, you are that ripple, right? You are the drop that creates the ripple of whatever effect it is that you're trying to put out. And so whether that's positivity or education or whatever it is, you know, just this is just my drop to try to motivate people and try to just give somebody something positive and something to think about.
Thank you, sir.
My man.
Appreciate that, man. Thank you so much.
For sure.
It's a wrap. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Ink Pray Love podcast. I hope you found it inspiring, entertaining, funny, and also feeling a little bit more present and connected to yourself. Please leave a review and like and subscribe and do all those things. I'd really appreciate that. As well as, if you're feeling in a giving mood, this podcast is there for the charities that I love to support. Go to www.aaronbaya.com/charity and get some of those good karma points. This podcast is brought to you by Lighthouse Studios in Bali, as well as Full Reset Coaching. That is my coaching practice. And if you're looking for help in business, inner game impact, and building your legacy to be something you're proud of, your brand, your business, and how you walk the earth and who you impact, and also having the mindset and the heart set to be able to be happy handling it all, I'm here for you. Just DM me. Let's go. Peace out, homies. I'll see you on the next episode.